Hello Redditors, welcome back to Tales Against Humanity. Now, let's get started. In today's episode,
Documentation matters. I recently had an interesting interaction with a third-party software provider. It was a classic tale where nobody involved, including myself, had the full picture of what was going on. And it was a mess. I've relatively recently started working in a new role, where a significant portion of my job is to understand what our MSPs and vendors are doing for us, and ensuring that they actually do it. There's a lot of software here which has been in use for a decade or more, and no one fully understands its configuration, or how the various services interact with our wider network configuration. Each third party manages their little bit, and we get them talking with each other when it's needed. It's a mess, and the documentation either sucks or doesn't exist. Australia has a number of aspects of business which are highly regulated, and various software products are built and or modified to ensure compliance with these regulations. Payroll is one of these, and the Australian Taxation Office, ATO, requires up-to-date reporting on employee earnings and taxes withheld. Consequently, when ATO updates this regulation, all of the payroll vendors have to update their software pretty quickly. One such change occurred January this year, 2022. Our vendor advised us that they had an update ready to deploy and contacted us to arrange the installation. This was referred to me for my review, but they effectively expected me to just rubber stamp it and move on. When I asked for further details, they had no description/patch notes, no upgrade procedure, no approved method of distribution, no rollback plan, or any of the sundry other items which are usually considered in change management. Needless to say, this didn't inspire my confidence. However, due to the regulatory aspect of the software, it had to be done, and after we negotiated a secure method for file transfer, we proceeded. The upgrade seemed to go flawlessly. It was done in an hour or so, their server and services restarted successfully, and all the data was present. Happy days. As this was done the day after payroll ran, we had 2 weeks before the problem was identified. The service couldn't communicate to external network destinations. Since the purpose of the upgrade was to send data to the ATO, this was obviously a problem. No changes had been made to the server or its network environment, so my first thought was that it must be a change in the software's protocols. When I tried to get information about this, I was pointed to a pre-upgrade troubleshooting page. It was not useful. I asked the tech if there had been any changes to the service communication so that I could trace the packets through the network, but got nowhere. The tech doing the upgrade wasn't an engineer or network technician, they were just following an extremely minimal playbook and moving from customer to customer. I asked if they could escalate the matter. A week or so later, I'm contacted by a LVL2 tech who provides a list of URLs and IP addresses to whitelist, and after that makes no difference, they then advise me of the crucial piece of information which had been missing. The software was not designed for use in a proxied network, and it needs direct access to the internet. Apparently it always had. It seems that we had been running a modified version of the software which would allow it to work with a network proxy, but neither the vendor nor us had any documentation of the changes which had been made. Theoretically, we could have restored the server from a backup prior to the upgrade, but by this point we had another 4 weeks of payroll data which would need to be reprocessed, but not repaid. We decided not to roll it back. At this point, cooperation from the vendor just stopped. They kept pointing out, in fairness, correctly, that it was a network environment issue and that the software was working as intended. Due to their resourcing and workloads, they were unwilling to consider modifications to work in our network. Had we had properly documented configuration for the software and server, we would have known this in advance and saved everyone a lot of time and effort and frustration. We may have been able to identify the issue ahead of time and get the vendor to fully consider it for the upgrade. Needless to say, we have since engaged a new vendor with a product more suitable to our usage. The moral of the story is simple. Documentation matters. Document everything. Story 2. PC, monitor, whatever. I work IT at a medium-sized gym chain. Right now we are only 2 people in our team, and of course this happened when my boss was off for the day. The really stupid stuff always happens when he's not there. I get a call at 7:40 a.m. on my cell phone. Now everyone knows we only work normal office hours. So I expected it to be a pretty severe problem like the turnstiles at the entrance of one of our gyms not working. Our sales PC won't turn on. Okay. Now I really regret picking up the phone. This could have waited until 8 a.m. when I'm actually in the office and not in my hallway trying to put on my shoes. I have him unplug and replug the power cable. PC still won't turn on. Sigh. Guess I'll have to pick up a new PC and drive out there. Luckily, it's only 20 minutes from the head office. Now this is where I admittedly screwed up. I could have tried pinging the computer and try Wake Online. Well, I didn't. I do expect our end users to be especially helpless with computers. "I'm just a trainer" is one of their go-to phrases. I did not expect to see what I did when I got there. You can probably already guess from the title. Of course the PC will turn on. Blinking lights at the front and all. What won't turn on is the monitor. I silently curse the trainer and myself, haul my butt back to HQ. Grab a new monitor, drive back out, switch. And blink. Blink really hard. I'm greeted with Windows 11. We don't use 11 yet. Someone must have clicked yes, please give me this new abomination of an OS. Why? They are afraid to click on things they're supposed to. How did they manage this? I revert the PC back to Windows 10. Graphic drivers are corrupted. They can work with that PC, but it looks like a fun LSD trip. Oh, just look at the time. Noon. Well, I'm off. Have a great weekend, everyone. Future me can deal with this mess and update our GPO. Sigh. Story 3. Twice equals every time. My 9-year-old wanted to hang out today while he played on his laptop. Cool. However, first he had some technical difficulties with glitching and lagging. I offered to help and he said sure. Those problems I solved, I think, by cleaning his fans and reducing maximum CPU to 90%. Then he was struggling at one point playing a tower defense game. So I again offered my expertise. I had played Clash of Clans and Geodefense off and on for years. I know what's up. However, this time my client poo-pooed every suggestion I made. In particular, he wasn't concerned that much about the efficiency of his defenses, configuring towers against particulars of the enemies, cost effectiveness of the towers/upgrades, not hoarding credits, etc. After my last suggestion, he'd had enough and blurted out. "It works, Dad. It works every time. Every time. I've tried 2 times and it has worked 2 times. To my chagrin, his half-assed strategy then proceeded to work a 3rd time. So apparently 3 times equals every time plus 1. To infinity and beyond indeed. There is a beyond. My kid is clearly the next Einstein. Story 4. It's too hot. A fun story from my shift yesterday. I had a member of staff submit a ticket with no description other than the title saying, "My machine is too hot." So I'm thinking, okay, it's a heat wave, I'm in the UK, maybe the computer is legitimately overheating due to dust, etc. I make the walk across the complex to meet the user and have a look at their machine. I take a look at the temps, absolutely fine. No reports of the machine blue screening or performing below expectations. I was confused, so informed the user that I can't find anything. They say no, you should touch it and see for yourself, so I do. I touch the computer. Surprisingly, the plastic is a completely normal temperature. Before I speak again, they scoff and say, "Why are you touching the computer? I mean this, you'd never guess where they've pointed. Their desk lamp." I reply, "What? Are you referring to your lamp?" They act stunned like I should have known this to begin with. A half-minute exchange of explaining that I have absolutely no responsibility over the temperature that your tiny desk lamp plugged into an extension cord is had. They act surprised that I do not support this incredibly lukewarm yellow lamp. I suggest to them to speak to the caretakers if they have further concerns and leave. Ticket closed. Desk lamp was warm, user doesn't like warmth.